What is going on? Movie meals. Weaver Wire, our little show where it's Alex going cuckoo. I finally get to bring on, quarantine has obviously hurt a lot of people. For my guest and I, it is not. It has done nothing but blossom our friendship tenfold. We've loved each other. We hate each other when we play Warzone, when he makes me play gun game with him. But at the end of the day, I love it. Tanner, I finally get you on, one of the biggest Star Wars nerds I know, and I'm excited because I finally got a nerd to really nerd out with about Star Wars.
Oh man, I'm stoked to actually finally be on here. And now that we've actually got a little bit of Star Wars content that finally dropped.
I know I mentioned to him months ago that I wanted him on, but there was just nothing I felt deserved really to talk about, nothing we could really deep dive into yet. And we finally got it. The Mandalorian trailer dropped. We knew it was going to come because they were starting to release pictures.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess first, let's just start, since you're new to the channel, what was your thoughts on the first season of The Mandalorian?
Loved the first season. Now, let me throw the caveat on that of saying I am a gigantic Star Wars nerd, and you slap Star Wars on the name of anything, and I'm probably going to watch it and pay for it. But that being said, with a critical eye, loved the beginning, thought the mid-season was a little slow, but then, man, once it got right at the end, oh my gosh, the payoff was just amazing. But overall, I genuinely loved season one. I'm so happy that we get something in the Star Wars universe that isn't surrounding this giant space opera. That's
not a Skywalker story.
This is not a Skywalker story. It's a very grounded story, and we get to see a whole other section of the galaxy, and you just can't beat it. You really can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved The Mandalorian. I get that some of the middle episodes were a bit slower. I still really love all of them. And this trailer, let's just jump into it. What was your thoughts? Loving the first season. What was your thoughts on just initially on the trailer?
Initially on the trailer, chef's kiss. It's perfect. Oh my gosh, one of the big kickers of trailers, just as a whole, is either they're going to show you too much or they're not going to show you enough. And this one showed just the right amount to get you hyped and just ready for the next season.
I completely agree. I talked about it in the reaction, which is finally up. I'm filming this. It's finally up. You guys will see this tomorrow on the channel, but go look at it if you haven't. But when the Ludwig Score comes in, I really love what he does with those deep wind instruments that he just.
Oh yeah,
it's so good. And when that score first started, and that first shot is something out of 2001: A Space Odyssey to me. It's something. It's such a great shot. It's an Earth-looking planet in the background.
Also, not to mention seeing the damaged Razor Crest as it's approaching along there. Oh man!
And at first, I didn't even realize it was damaged, and I was like, "Why is the back door open?" And then I started seeing the sparks, and I was like, "Oh, what has Mando been in? What's been going on?"
Man, I love it.
Comes in the trailer.
Was that by the Who?
What do you
score?
mean?
So there's the band that did the opening song for Jedi Fallen Order, and it was Mongolian throat singing. And I don't know if you noticed in the beginning of this trailer, they actually started off with some Mongolian throat singing. So I don't know if the same band that did the opener to Jedi Fallen Order ended up doing this one as well.
I'm not sure. I know the composer is Ludwig Goswin. I think it's how you say his name, who did Mandalorian season 1. He's the documentary on Disney Plus is a great episode about him for The Mandalorian, where it's just all about him. But he's done, he did the score for Tenet. He did the score for Venom, which movie was okay, but he was great. He did the music for Childish Gambino's This Is America, which is a great song. He did the score for Black Panther. I'm
learning all kinds of knowledge right now.
he's awesome, man. And he's like a younger guy. He's kind of, I mean, honestly, you and him look the same. Like you
Generic white
like,
dude with long hair and beard.
yeah, pretty much. And he like locked himself in a room with just different wind instruments and just did it. So I don't know if he worked with them. I have no idea. I'm sure he's taken, whether they worked or not. I think they're, at least at the Mandalorian team, they're looking at everything else. Like sometimes the big movies, these, episodes 9 specifically, didn't look at anything else.
Yeah,
These
for
look,
sure.
the Mandalorian looks at everything else in the canon. So maybe, but when that score hit, I mean, that score is fantastic. Even today, I'm a teacher. For any viewers who don't know, I'm a teacher and I teach little kids. And one of the things I like to do is I have a whole list of scores on my Spotify playlist that I've made, and I just throw that on instead of, sometimes I'll play like actual kid music, but I like just put movie scores on, and I like to see if the kids can get it. And the second the da-na-na-na, that came on, about 5 kids just stood, their ears kind of perked up. And these kids are 6 years old, and they're like, "Is that the Mandalorian?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is." And it's just, seeing their reaction. That happened today. So seeing that reaction today, I found out the trailer dropped literally 2 minutes later. Kyle had texted me and was like, "Dude, the trailer dropped." Because I responded with, "Well, I just did this with the kids. That's incredible timing." Seeing those 6-year-olds get hyped after that score, and then it brought the 6-year-old out in me watching the trailer today, and I can't wait. Do you know? I don't know, how many episodes is this season? Is it 6 again?
Wait, wait a second, was Mando season 1 only 6 episodes?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot it was only 6. I thought, for some reason, it was like 8. Here I am writing down all the names of the planets from Mando season 1, but I don't even remember how many episodes there are.
Yeah, it was 6, and
okay.
I remember it got flack because they're not very long. Some of them are like 30 minutes. And people were like, "No, I want Game of Thrones. Where's my hour and 15 minutes?" And it's like, relax. We get it. You're mad about, we're all mad about Game of Thrones. This is Star Wars' time. So
I hope we get more. I really do. Now that being said, I something that I do really appreciate is there was a lot of inconsistency of the length of episodes for The Mandalorian, because it really seemed as though that they just wanted to get in, tell the stories that they wanted to tell, and then get out. There really didn't feel like there was as many pacing problems as other TV series that might exist out there. You get in, you tell the story that you want to tell, and then you get out. That's about it.
Yeah, and it from what I've gathered, Favreau, his idea was the first 2 and the last, and so they kind of filled out the rest. And I said this in our reaction too, where the first season, I get it, it's a little choppy because we're trying to figure, by episode, it is a Western episodic thing. It's I have the child that I have to protect for the next 6 episodes in different situations. And it makes for a little choppiness. It makes for inconsistency. This trailer says, all right, now it's a buddy journey. Now it's me and the child, it's me and Baby Yodes, and we're on a mission to return him to where he belongs. And that alone in the trailer says we're going to have the consistency that people wanted. It's going to be one through line. We're going to meet people. All right, now let's dive into it because I'm ready. I'm going to throw my first big thing at you. I know you got your notes. I'm going to throw my one big thing, and we'll see if you thought of it.
Yes.
So there is a shot. There's a shot of Tatooine. We knew we were going to go back to Tatooine.
Of course, it's Star Wars. You always have to go to Tatooine.
and people complained, why are we going to Tatooine? Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker has no business going to Tatooine. As an audience member, there's no reason. She's never mentioned, we've never seen her know about it.
Yeah.
In this, there's not a better place for such a hive of, what is it? There's
you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Exactly. That's where a bounty hunter belongs. That's where a bounty hunter is going to go for information. It's a giant planet, a desert planet with a bunch of bad guys run by a cartel in the Hutts. Like, so that makes sense. But my big shot, then that switched, and it was an ice snow planet.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
I think the first reaction is that's Hoth, and everybody's gonna go to that's Hoth. I think if we remember the end of Clone Wars,
Oh yeah.
Ahsoka is burying people. There's ice, there's snow.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he's on that planet, and I think that is a shot in like the wherever episode he finds her, and I think that is a quick scene, a tease for the super nerds that this is where he's gonna meet Ahsoka.
I had two thoughts on that one. And because there is a mirroring of colors that happen. I don't know if you remember when the Venator Star Destroyer is dropping on the planet at the end of season, or at the final season of Clone Wars. As it's dropping down, you notice it's dropping onto a blue planet, and you see off in the distance what looks like a gas giant. And then reverse it. The opener for this one is the Razor Crest going around a gas giant as it's approaching a blue planet.
Ooh.
So, I mean, there's an idea there. Now,
that.
the other idea that I actually had for the snow planet, I mean, you're absolutely right. Of like, it's a snow planet. We're going to Hoth, right? No, I was actually thinking that it might be Ilum that we might possibly
Ilum
be heading
would be
to.
cool.
That would be amazing.
Ilum would be cool.
Makes me curious if something like the Empire would still be maintaining control over something like Ilum, or since they've been broken up, would they be stepping away from it? I don't know.
And Ilum is in the game. I want to make sure my math's correct, right? That's in Fallen Order.
Ilum is in both Fallen Order, and it's also in the Clone Wars.
Yes. Okay. I told this to Kyle today. I had to open the filing cabinet and get all back there to my Star Wars information because it's been a while since I've really dove into all the geek stuff. But yeah, bringing in the game, the side of the game, and bringing in the Clone Wars makes so much sense. So if it's Ilum, I'll be happy. That'd be cool.
It's I almost wonder if if at some point in time, with all of the places that we've been seeing, if it's going to turn into one of those montages as the Mandalorian's going from place to place. It's like, does this guy belong here? Oh God, no.
Yeah, just cue Spirit in the Sky, and we'll go full Guardians, and we'll just bounce back and forth from planet to planet. I love it. All right, well, give me another thing. Give me something off your list, because that's my biggest theory, is that I think that it's that planet that Ahsoka landed on. We know Ahsoka leaves that planet because of Rebels. But is she still there at the time of when Mandalorian takes place? That's my wonder.
That idea makes sense, and the only other denoting thing that we get in that shot of when they're on the snow planet is there's some sort of gray and orange wreckage that's behind the Mandalorian. Which, I mean, as we know, like, they painted up their armor and did all of that. So I mean,
and it could just be rust.
But I'm just curious as to what story reason would we need to go to this burned out moon to like come across this crash site. There's a lot of symbolism there, but I'm not sure what reason that they would need to go to something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're hunting Jedi.
That's true. That's very true. And I've got so many questions considering all this. I know one of the big ones was obviously the shadowy figure that popped off.
Yes.
That we see for a quick second, zooms in on, then someone walks by and she disappears. A lot of people on the internet were saying that it was that's Ahsoka Tano. What they've done is initially, and what they did is they digitally removed all of what would be the blue, the white, and orange coloring from her.
Okay.
But after a couple of breakdowns of people zooming in, they actually found out that it's an actress by the name of Sasha Banks, and that
I remember her being added.
There's a theory that it might actually be Sabine Wren from Rebels as a grown-up version. as that might lead her to Ahsoka Tano. That might end up being the through line.
Now, real quick before we continue, I love that. At first,
Mhm.
I did think it was Ahsoka just because the shot is so quick. I was like, that looks like Ahsoka. And then I went back and looked, and it's not
It's
Rosario Dawson who's playing her.
not.
But I will say, too, that shot, what I really like about that shot, and I think some people think it's hokey with her, like, vanishing at the line, like they were mysterious, and, it's this legend.
Yeah.
And I think people will take that as hokey when it shouldn't be, because one of the things that the newest trilogy has gotten away from is the myth of the Jedi. And we get not a whole lot of time happens in between episode 3 and 4, but the Empire that entire time is like debunking the myth of what Jedi were. They're force feeding you as the government.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even in our time today, you can see that stuff working. If you're force fed something, people believe it. And so I like that whole myth is back, and now the Jedi are myths. And I like that Ahsoka gets to be that in live action, which we haven't had in forever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's oh man, the theories have been fluttering ever since I've watched this trailer like 6 different times.
Exactly, I love it.
But oh man, so what are your thoughts on? Well, so are we kind of well, two things. Are we okaying spoilers from season 1 at this point in time? Okay.
You're not watching movie meals with me if you're not caught up on Star Wars, man. Either you don't care or you're not caught up.
Solid. Because I know they announced, obviously, Ahsoka Tano. They also announced that, I'm forgetting the actor's name, but he was making his reprisal role as the clones, with Rex returning, the original actor for Jango Fett from episode 2.
Which I like. I like that they're bringing him in, and they're keeping that, that lineage correct. I'm very excited about that.
Now, I guess on the flip side of that, and I'm really curious as to what your thoughts are on this, is how much or how little do you want of original series characters or even other Clone Wars characters? How much of that do you want in the series or how much or how little do you want?
For myself, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
If it was Luke, if it was Luke, I probably would be like, no, that's a little much. But Ahsoka has been utilized so well by Dave Filoni in Rebels that I'm for it. The Sabine part I really like. If that is her, I just don't know how the timelines work up, because Mandalorian is about 5 years later than 6, but Rebels takes place a couple years even later than that, right? And then no, Rebels is before, because they're at the fight of the Death Star.
Rebels is butting up right up against the Battle of Yavin.
5 and 6, yes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
That's where.
No, not Battle of Yavin, because that's 4.
Battle
of Yavin is the first Death Star.
It is the first Death Star, but
they're at the second, aren't they?
They're still gaining during Rebels. They're still starting the Rebel cells as they're coming together before the Battle of Yavin ever occurs.
That's right.
It's between 3 and 4.
Join. That's right, and then they join. Okay, so end of. I'm so glad you came on this, because you're bringing context that normally I got to go real deep in my brain to find. It's been a minute, man. I filled my brain with a lot of stuff. So that would make sense because of the end of Rebels. I mean, Sabine and Ahsoka are together, and they're traveling the galaxy looking for Ezra. And first of all, if it is them, let's say it is, and they work, you've got your spin-off live-action show right there where you can go do a search for Ezra, and I'm here for it. I want it. I really want it. Cast me. I want somebody great playing Ezra. I'd love that. But I like the Sabine pick. I think that works. And if she is the key to getting there, especially with the introduction of the Darksaber being where it is now, how did it get to Moff Gideon? Also, I'm starting The Boys season 2, which he is in as the main villain kind of as well in that. And
Oh, really?
oh yeah, and Breaking Bad, Boys, Mandalorian, he needs to be the villain in everything. He's too good. He's barely in the Mandalorian, and he steals the show. He's so freaking good and
Every
terrifying.
time Esposito shows up on screen, he literally captures the entirety of it.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
I'm for the Sabine, but what was your question? I got too bogged into it and forgot your
Oh,
question.
yes.
How many
in terms of
lineage characters?
how much or how little of lineage characters do you want to see in the series? Well, because it feels like after a point that it starts turning into member berries.
Yeah.
That we're going to slap insert character just so that way we can get everyone the star draw to it. I would say the biggest example, unfortunately, the biggest example of that was having Billy D. Williams coming in as Lando Calrissian on the most recent Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, I love Billy D. Williams,
sure.
I love Lando Calrissian, but that really kind of felt like, well, all of the other legacy characters are dead, so we need something to draw some of the older audience in.
And honestly, quick tangent, because I hate The Rise of Skywalker. I don't hate it. It's just not good.
I agree.
If that movie was better and they utilized him better, it would have worked, but it does feel like we just need another legacy character because JJ didn't know what to do. And that's a bummer. But I think the coolest thing is we sometimes get caught up in our bubble because I don't, unless you're a kid now who, one of the kids I'm teaching who watched Rebels or watched Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Or you're a hardcore fan, most everybody else who's watching The Mandalorian, which is a lot. I mean, it beat Game of Thrones season 8 numbers, which was their highest viewed ever. Those people don't know who Ahsoka Tano is. And
That's
so bringing her in is very helpful for them, where we might, if you're such a nerd where you really, really don't want any characters, you're being a little too harsh because you can't read and watch everything and then hope that they always bring in a brand new character. That's just not going to work. And Ahsoka, I mean, as a kid, I did not like her character. When I first met her, I did not like her. And I grew to love the crap out of her. Her book is great. That has been written. I mean, she is so great in Clone Wars. The end of Clone Wars is excellent. She's utilized beautifully in Rebels, where she doesn't take complete control, but she gets her moments. And I think Filoni will do that here, and I want it. I don't think we're going to get a lot of Ahsoka, and I think it's going to be similar to Episode 7. Most of the show is going to be getting to Ahsoka. I do think Ahsoka will have a cool lightsaber battle, and I do think it will be against Moff Gideon. And
Ahsoka, God, it's so, I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be cool, but she would put Gideon into the dirt.
Yeah, unless they bring in a villain, either a new villain who's, Sith trained or somebody we know at that time. I don't know who would be there still. Maul's gone, the Emperor's gone, and Vader's gone Vader's gone by that point. So I don't know who unless, now we're getting into it. What if Ezra, what if they're doing all that for The Mandalorian? What if Ezra shows up live action? He's actually the big bad villain. And then him and Ahsoka fight, because all they did, all Rebels, was tease, is Ezra actually going to go to the dark or is he going to stay to the light? And it ends just like that. We don't know what happened.
That would be so amazing to have Ezra.
I will lose my mind if that happens.
Do you think he comes back with Admiral Thrawn, though? Or do you think they ditch Admiral Thrawn entirely?
Well, isn't Thrawn dead?
The last shot that we get of those two is they get wrapped up by the...
That's right.
I don't remember the name of the creatures. They both get sent out into the dark regions. Yeah, by the space whales, exactly.
The space whales. The weirdest part. I love the Under Rebels. Space whales is the weirdest part.
Yeah, it's a little strange, but oh man.
I'd be down for that.
I would be so down for that. I mean... I guess sooner or later we'll circle back to actual Mandalorian, but
no, let's get sweaty. Let's get sweaty. Get it all out. I love it. I'm here for it.
I mean, maybe this is just from coming from being a little kid of reading the Timothy Zahn trilogy books from
Yeah.
the Star Wars Extended. I love the Admiral Thrawn series.
Yeah, it's one of the best. The new Thrawn books are good too.
I still yet to actually read the new Thrawn books.
They're good.
But once you actually like, they had the whole announcement of like Thrawn is coming to Star Wars Rebels. Oh man, I was so stoked, and I love what they did with him. But it's good, but it's really sad to just see him get carried away by space whales.
Yeah.
I just would have loved to have seen more of him. Same with like Mandalorian. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of IG-77.
IG-11, you mean?
IG-11. Sorry. Gosh, now you're getting me on my stuff.
Well, the only reason I got that is one of the kids in my class has a Mandalorian coloring book, and he constantly is coloring pages and ripping them out. And I look at the back because he forgets to color the back. And he gave me one the other day, and I flipped it over and said IG-11. So it's real fresh in my brain. And I was like, "Hey, you gonna color IG-11?" But that's why specifically IG-11 is in my brain.
Stuck there. Oh god, that's good. It also Taika Waititi as IG-11 was also a treat. Anything
back to direct, I believe, at least an episode.
Oh, thank God!
I thought he was.
Anything that man touches is just gold.
Yeah, no, he's great.
His directing and acting style. It's so
I'm gonna
good.
get even extra sweaty on you right now. You ready?
Yeah.
So we're being crazy here. If for some reason Ezra gets brought in as a big bad and Moff Gideon, maybe he obviously has the saber at the end. He has it. Whether he's trained or not, we don't know Moff Gideon's story. He could have been an inquisitor at one point. We don't know.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
I'm all about that.
If they bring in Ezra, because one of my big complaints is why announce Ahsoka Tano is going to be in this? That could have been an incredible surprise, especially if she's not in it a lot. But if it's a scapegoat, if it's a distraction for Ezra, or what if this is what the fans, not me, the fans who have been dying for it, what if we get a young Snoke and we get Snoke's origin story through the Mandalorian as a villain? What do you think of that one? That one? The Sai is so different than Ezra, and I love it.
You sure it's him not being just grown in a tube? It's like, oh, hey, look at that guy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's how crazy I get rid of the Rise of Skywalker. I forgot about those tubes.
I would have loved to have seen more of the Snoke bit, but that's
I was okay not knowing. I was okay. The original trilogy does not give any backstory about the Emperor. I was okay not having it, and I was okay with the way they did it if they had done it right. His line is just a line of "I was Snoke." That's fine. I'm fine with that. But then you ruin the rest of. We're gonna get too much into Rise of Skywalker. I'll go for hours if you get me on it.
Yeah. I guess I completely agree with you. It's just maybe learning about Snoke on the periphery in either story, like other writings or stories, would have been fun to do. But unfortunately, Rise of Skywalker has really just kind of taken the wind out of Snoke for me, unfortunately.
No, I'm with you.
But oh man, if they brought back Ezra would actually be, that could be the trappings for a really great villain to bring into that, and I would love that. Gosh, now you got me thinking about
just
that.
Imagine in episode 4, they reveal that Ezra will be the villain, and then as soon as the episode ends and the window goes small and it's like, what else is on Disney Plus? It just says Star Wars Rebels with a big picture of animated Ezra. It's just Disney, reeling us in. They've got us.
Oh yeah.
Ezra would be cool. I doubt Ezra's gonna happen, but Ezra, if he shows up at all, and they have some really good actor that is is a noteworthy actor that at least people know at some level, that'd be a cool surprise. I'd be here for it.
That'd be amazing. It wouldn't be the Tatooine kid sitting next to his speeder bike.
No, the kid that was just shocked at Annie's bike grew up
Yeah.
to be a villain, old man villain.
Oh
All right,
God,
what else you got on your notes? Let's get back to the
Let's see.
Mandalorian.
So back to Mandalorian. I know, what was it? It must have been actually the same episode when we were when we went to Tatooine. We heard the Spurs at the end of the episode.
Yep, and everybody thought we were getting Boba Fett for the rest of the episode.
So we still haven't seen who that person with this. Like, it was a very deliberate shot. All we see is boots. We hear the Spurs come up. Is it going to be Boba?
You can see a cape. You can see a cape. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure you're able to see a little bit of a shadow of a cape. I bet a good amount of money it's Boba Fett.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's no way they don't bring back Boba Fett. Not in my mind. It just because I think they won the draw of it. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's been wanting Boba Fett for how long now? And
I mean, since the original trilogy. I mean, since Episode 6, the thought is he's not in that pit. There's no way this cool bounty hunter, who's really not on screen that long, is in that pit. It's interesting because, like, I want Boba Fett. I want him to escape the pit. I want to know what happens. What would be really cool is you get, I mean, the same guy will be playing Rex, I assume, as well as
absolutely
Boba Fett. And what would be really cool is to see an interaction between the two of them.
Oh,
that would be really cool. We're like something like Yoda's origin. Like, the only thing I will get is the name of his species. I don't want any more. I really don't. They'd really have to make it work for me to love it.
Keep it mysterious.
I would really have to make it work. And it would be cool if, and this is how I think Mandalorian season 2 will end. I think it'll end with Ahsoka saying, "Let me take him under my wing. All I know is my master was of the same species. He once told me the name. It'll be, she'll say the name. I know they're very powerful with the Force. Let me take him and train him." And I think that'll hopefully be all we get. But it's so weird because I don't want more of Yoda, but I would love more of Boba Fett. Bring in Boba Fett.
I mean, when he's only flashed on the screen for like a whole 2 seconds, I mean, come on, let's get a little bit more. I'd be okay with that.
And it'd be cool. It'd be cool because there's such mystique around Boba Fett and confusion around Boba Fett. Is he a Mandalorian? Is he not a Mandalorian? Because right now, I believe in canon, what is set is that he stole the Mandalorian armor, which his dad did. They stole they weren't actually Mandalorians, but I've also heard that they are. So I'm even confused.
Well, that's the interesting thing is ever since they changed. They axed off the extended universe. There's been a lot of confusion as to what exactly makes a Mandalorian. Because, I mean, in the show The Mandalorian, they specifically make mention Mandalorian aren't a people. It's a way of life.
Creed.
It's Creed. That's what it was.
And that would be canon. That would now be considered canon. Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, specifically also, then you go back to Clone Wars, though, and you look at, like, Death Watch's Creed. And you actually get those arcs that are happening around Mandalore itself. It's really interesting. And also, I mean, this is why I'm also really excited to see someone like Sabine if she was actually brought in. I mean, she actually held on to the Darksaber for She
was a leader of Mandalore for a while too. Yeah. She was trained.
I'm really excited, and I hope that maybe we get to touch on a little bit more of what happened with the purge of Mandalore.
Yeah, and we've gotten a little bit in season 1, but I want more.
I remember getting a piece of information that Moff Gideon was actually one of the top leaders of the purges that happened around the Mandalorians, and that's how he ended up getting the Darksaber. So I have a hard time feeling that Sabine would just part with something like that. But I honestly actually don't remember in Rebels if she still has the Darksaber or if she gave it up. That's something I'll have to.
I think she still had it.
Okay.
But I can
Okay.
look it up while we're chit-chatting here too. I mean, all of that will be really interesting because we assume, he was a foundling. Was he a foundling on another planet saved by the Mandalorians? We don't know. Was he actually, was Mando actually living on Mandalore during the actual
purge, yeah.
and happened to be saved? We don't know. We don't really know the specifics. Because they didn't fight just on Mandalore.
The only specifics that we know is that it was an attack by the CIS, because we get the B2 battle droids and B1 battle droids that show up in that flashback as him as a kid. Then the Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Then the Mandalorians show up and then protect him. We have no idea what planet that's on. And now, as far as I know, all we see in the Clone Wars is the Mandalorians, due to the harsh climates of their planet, are forced to live in these biodomes on the surface of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there could be, maybe there's people actually living out in the desert-like areas that are around there, and maybe that's where Mando is from. That'd be curious, but I'd be willing to gander that he was somewhere completely different. Well, I don't know. Then again, the Mandalorians that grab him have the Death Watch symbol on them. So, and they've only been operating on Mandalore ever since right up till they get destroyed in the end of Clone Wars.
Yeah, because the Clone Wars, the Separatists are trying to go at him as well. They ally with the Jedi, kind of. They have their own civil war at one point, the Mandalorians do. And then eventually the Empire wipes them out.
Yes.
Which makes sense. You're not going to wipe out, George has always talked about the reason he created the Mandalorians is the Mandalorians are supposed to be us. They're supposed to be Earthlings, basically, and that's why they have the jetpacks. It's normal people's way to combat the Jedi.
Yeah.
And if you're the Empire, you're a Sith, and you're like, well, these guys have been given the Jedi trouble forever, and the Jedi are supposed to be good. I got to wipe them out too. And there's not a lot of Mandalorians left. I do want to know what happened to all the Mandalorians, too, that leave the planet. I want to know what happened to them. I want more of them.
They just leave a pile of their armor on Navarro, yeah.
Yeah, I want to know. But I think we will get more explanation. And those conversations, one of the great things about Game of Thrones was the conversations, which you don't get in television very often. I mean, television is for the writers. But a show to grab you in where you really do want to sit down and watch two people talk for 30 minutes. I think Mandalorian can go that direction because the conversations, but just sitting there between Mando and Boba Fett, Mando and Sabine, Sabine and Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
Rex and Mando, Rex and Boba Fett, like those would be really, really cool conversations. Boba Fett and Rex would really get me because we have an emotional reaction because he's looking at himself, but he's looking at his dad.
Yeah.
Because Boba Fett is a clone, but he is looking at his father when he sees himself.
Oh, man.
So if he sees Rex, he's going to see what his dad would have looked like even older than he is because, he didn't age the same way they did. So that conversation, that emotional beat he might take, but at the same time, they're his enemy, would be really cool. I wonder if they're going to bring the Hutts in, too. You think they're going to bring the Hutts in? Well, we know that Jabba's dead.
Jabba's dead,
but who's
also
taken over?
Who's taken over in Jabba's stead, and also who's taken over in the other crime family members of the Hutts as well? Because I want to say there's 7 or 8 major clans that are controlling there. We see a number of them get murdered in the Clone Wars. as Darth Maul's going on his rampage with Death Watch to try to gain the criminal underworld and put them under his influence. So how much of the Hutts are left? Also, how much of the Hutts, how much do they honestly exude or control in the areas? Because if there was a line specifically when they visit Tatooine where they said that the guilds no longer operate here. Or no, it was just something along the lines that like Mos Eisley and Tatooine as a whole has really kind of lost its teeth. That
and maybe it's abandoned.
It could be. I don't think the Hutts would ever go away quietly. Maybe something's happened on Tatooine where it's a little less Wild West around there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be starting my rewatch of Mandalorian season 1 here shortly. So.
I know, I need to too. All these shows are starting up in October. I'm so behind.
Right.
I want to know why the heck the cantina suddenly went from "we don't serve their kind" to a "droids behind the bar."
I know.
That's what I want to know. When did that change?
You're asking the hard-hitting questions.
I want a 10-episode, hour-long, just explaining that. I want that backstory.
Where the hell did Max Rebo and the Max Rebo band go? I need to know this.
Exactly. All right. I know we got to probably wrap up soonish, but I want to get a couple more of your notes.
So
you got it all written out.
A couple ones, just a few fun ones actually that I had there. Oh man, in the trailer when we see the X-wings pull up next to the Razor Crest, I got chills.
Is incredible.
Oh, it looks so good. And then one of the shots that I was meaning to talk to you about was they're going through very similar cloud formations. The Razor Crest is diving down, and then it's followed up by the two X-wings tailing it.
Yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of the approach to Bespin. And I'm curious as to...
All right. I see you.
Is there any reason that they would need to go to Bespin? Because it makes sense that would be relinquished from Imperial control to Rebel control. Everything's in flux right now. And, well, let me think. Billy D. Lando specifically went off to go do his thing after the events of Return of the Jedi, correct?
I believe so, yeah. Actually,
okay.
I believe in the my books I'm catching up on. But I believe he actually went with Luke for a bit because Luke went and, wanted to find the sacred texts and find more about the Jedi. And I know Lando went with him for a while. So I think it was kind of an in and out thing because the same thing happened with Han. Han kind of went in and out and then eventually was just out. And I think Lando was probably followed in a similar path. I mean, we know he did because eventually he's not with the rebellion. And so, at some point, I don't think we'll see a young Lando. Although if he popped up, that would be a pleasant surprise for me.
That'd be interesting.
Just bring Donald Glover back. That'd be just for like information or like they're sitting at a table. Mando's playing cards and it's with Lando Calrissian and they kind of have a quick,
cool.
Quid pro quo with each other. That's a surprise I'd be okay with. If he's in it a lot, that's where I would be like, But if he's sitting playing Sabacc and he just needs information and Lando happens to be at the table, I'm for it.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that.
The Bespin thing I like, those shots are interesting because the first shot is them next to each other. The second shot is them behind each other. And my first instinct when I saw it was they're in a battle. Like they're actually, the X-Wings are going against the Razor Crest, and then eventually they're going to bring him in somewhere. And they're piling him in. That was my first thought. But if those are, maybe that's Rex and some of the other clones that survived, are they in older X-Wings that are left over from the rebellion? Or is it Gina Carano who calls up a buddy or they just get a couple X-Wings and it's them.
Right.
I didn't think of the idea of they're going in somewhere and they're, you're looking at the formations. I like it. I didn't think of that. I'm for it.
I got like hardcore Bespin vibes, because specifically there's the Bespin, the dual-seater Bespin riders that pull up next to the Millennium Falcon as they're pulling in, and Han's like, I told you I need to talk to Lando, and you can see the rider as it's just right next to it before they take their shots, and then the X-Wings pull up and put their S-foils in attack position. You're like, oh, I wonder. This feels really similar right now. I don't know.
I like the way you're looking at it. You're changing my tune from my own theory. I like that theory that they're about to go into battle. I don't know who's piloting those X-Wings. I mean, Gina Carano was an X-Wing pilot, I thought, or was she a ground trooper?
She was an assault shock trooper.
Assault shock trooper. That's what it was.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe not her. Okay.
The other shot in there that I didn't know that I wanted, but was just amazing, was seeing the scout troopers go off on the speeder bikes
on the cliff.
On the cliff, like straight down, hit the dirt, and keep going. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, I really like that. And there's no hokey line where it's like they can fly now. It's like we've seen jetpacks in Star Wars for decades. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's a cool shot. And whatever chase that is, man, I looked up the episode count. Did I tell you about Satine too? I looked up who has the saber. Did I mention that?
Oh, I don't remember hearing that one.
She still has it. We don't know how Moff Gideon gets it. Probably during the purge would be the guess, because he is involved in the purge. But we don't know specifically how he gets it. From the last we've seen, Satine has it, and then the next thing we know, he has it.
Interesting. Because, I mean, it also kind of wigs me out as to, like, if Sabine is still alive, why wouldn't she have a connection to the Mandalorians that were underground in Navarro? Because that is a big conglomeration of Mandalorians that are down there.
Yeah, they're spread around the galaxy in their little factions.
Yeah.
And she might. I mean, she's not with them. But we got to assume she's still with Ahsoka and she is still searching for Ezra, right? Yeah. We got to assume that's what she's still doing. And, I mean, the way the show is set up and those characters, like, she's not going to stop until she finds him. I mean, she loves him. So she's got to find him. And so she might know of them. And, there might be a line, if that is Satine, where she says, hey, I heard of what you did. And I was proud of you. Like, you've earned your signet. You really have, a line like that, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be that'd be a sweet little line too, especially for, us at the hardcore level,
Oh, yeah.
Seeing that would be cool. Those little lines would be cool.
Just a few rapid fire ones right now. I personally, I'm in love with the time period of The Mandalorian. I think it is actually one of my favorite time periods of Star Wars, period. Yeah. There's no major conflict that's occurring at the moment. Rebellion and Empire are at a standstill with each other.
Well, we've got democracy trying to rise, the Republic's trying to return, and then the First Order is trying to rise from the ashes of the Empire after the battle over Jakku. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. I like it. I like it too.
It breeds a lot of, like, interesting ground, because there's whole sections of the galaxy that, I mean, like, why wouldn't a Grand Moff in this section of the galaxy all of a sudden just decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take control of a section of this empire and start fragmenting it? And so not only do we get Imperial versus New Republic, but we also get Imperial versus Imperial, just like how we saw Moff Gideon versus the Client. And don't get me wrong, I think Star Wars shines when there are those, like, really large galactic wars that are happening.
Yeah, well, we need a war in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in terms of like, for instance, if the Mandalorian was dropped in the middle of something like the Galactic Civil War versus right in between a major conflict that's happening in the galaxy, it makes so much more of a nuanced and interesting place to be.
Yeah,
And I really appreciate that.
I agree.
Let's see. Another one to rapid fire to you. Lore from the Jedi Fallen Order. I wonder if, do you think Cal Kestis would ever actually make an appearance?
I watch the show Shameless. I
Mm-hmm.
don't watch Gotham, and that actor whose name is escaping me at 9 at night. I love him. He's in Shameless. He's brilliant in Shameless. The writing's not always
Mm-hmm.
great, but he's great. The little I've seen of clips as the Joker, he kills. He nailed Cal Kestis in a video game. He nailed
Amazing.
it. I would be over the moon for him. I would love a series on Disney Plus of him surviving past the game, and they won't do it because they're going to make a sequel to the game with him, which is the bummer. But if he did show up, I mean, the people are going to recognize him. I mean, we're doing mocap now for video games. People are going to recognize him. People know that actor. I mean, Shameless is extremely popular. Gotham was pretty popular. People know him. And if he popped up, that would be cool. Or if a mention of him, you know, if Ahsoka says, you know, then there probably is going to be a line where Mando says, how many more of you are there really left? And she'll say, you know, there was 3 of us at the time. I've heard of some others. I've heard of, you know, Cal Kestis as a name. You know, she might say something like that leans towards him, or mention a planet, you know, like I heard of a Jedi on Dathomir not long ago, you know, something like that, or years ago. Or even a mention of, what's the droid's name? Why am I blanking?
Oh, it's Buddy, BD1.
BD1. Now, if BD1 showed up for a quick shot, I actually think I'd love that more. I think I'd love that more. That'd be amazing. Like if Ahsoka, you know, if BD1 went on his own and they're like communicating, you know, like that would be cool. You know, like BD1 shows up and Mando's like, who's this guy? And she, you know, she pets BD1 and gives him a card and says, hey, make sure this gets to Cal. And he leaves. That would be awesome. That would be sick.
You know, I doubt we're gonna get Cal Kestis in the series just as a whole.
Probably.
Wet dream of mine, sure. But man, if I could even just get a little BD1 that's like walking around in the background somewhere, of just like a random shot as we see the Mandalorian walking through these beautiful vistas, or like in the middle of a town, all of a sudden a little BD1 unit walks on by. Oh, great!
Would be cool.
That's amazing.
You know, real quick on BD1. I've loved almost every droid in Star Wars. The only droid I actually really do not like is L3 in Solo. I know you're not a big Solo fan.
Yeah. Different one.
No, it's L3.
Lebo is with Dash Rendar. Sorry, that's
L3 with Lando, though, that becomes the navigation system for the Falcon. I like Solo. There's a few parts in Solo I hate. Hate's strong word. Don't like. And I don't like L3, even though I love the actress who plays her. Every other droid I love. BD1 might be my second, if not first, favorite droid. I love BD1. I love BB-8, but BD1 being like a Pikachu in the Star Wars universe is the coolest thing. It's adorable. It's awesome. He's helpful. I love BD1.
The expression, you know, I weirdly enough, I don't actually think I've seen a droid that's as expressive as BD1, because with R2 you get the bleeps and the bloops, and that's about it.
Some shakes,
little shakes here and there. That's true. BB-8 was really cute, but it's soccer ball, but it's a good droid.
Yeah, BB-8's good. I like BB-8 quite a bit.
But BD1, not only do you get the little the cute little leg movements, you get like the up and the downs and the bobs and then the ear movements that are happening. It's such an expressive droid, comparatively speaking. I mean, especially to something like C-3PO that's oh my.
Yeah. And video game's going to offer that, I think, a little bit more, either that or animation. Because like a droid like Chopper, I don't love. I think Chopper's okay, but I think Chopper is geared towards the kids more.
100%.
But and BB-8, I think, is used excellent in Episode 7. And you love BB-8, you fall in love with BB-8, and then used the only storyline in Last Jedi. I mean, I know we're opposite ends on this as well, and this is a name you shouldn't say, but I think he's used better than in Rise of Skywalker, but still not well in Last Jedi, because I don't like the through line he goes through, at least on with the coins and everything. But he's not used almost at all in Rise of Skywalker. And so that's the bummer, where BD1 is used incredibly well throughout the entire game. But we got to get back to Mandalorian before.
Anyways, sorry. Yes, back to Mandalorian as we're getting sweaty with.
I love it. I'm getting all the nerd sweat out. It's been a while since I've had Star Wars. This might be one of my favorite Star Wars talks I've ever had. I'm having a blast.
Oh,
you were coming back, sir. You were coming back.
So the last one of the last ones that I remember picking up from the trailer was specifically there was a lot of they're at a dockside somewhere, and there's a number of Quarians, like a lot of Quarians that are there.
Yes.
And I was looking at that thinking, are we going to go to Mon Cala? Like, are we? It was an idea that I had with how many Quarians are there, because I mean, not only do the Mon Calamari, but also the Quarians live on Mon Cala.
Remind me that planet where its lineage is, because I know the name.
Mon Cala's lineage is, well, it was originally put in the original trilogy, and that's where Admiral Akbar is from.
Yes. Okay, that's, yep.
Yes.
I'm with
that's
you.
It's also in, it's probably one of my least favorite Clone Wars arcs, but it's the Underwater Wars.
Yeah. All right, it's coming back.
Yeah. And then they have the Gungans. Then they have the Gungans show up to defend the whole.
We don't need Gungans. I can tell you that. We don't need them.
Specifically, we don't need Jar Jar. I'm actually okay with Gungans.
Do you know what happens to Jar Jar in the canon in the books?
I don't. I really don't.
Jar Jar goes from a senator, and the Empire basically forces him to be a slave and a fool, and the rest of his life he entertains children.
Oh my God!
When you read that book, I can't remember which book it is. I think it's in one of the Leia books, I believe. A mention of it. I'd have to double check, but he is, and I, as a kid, you love Jar Jar. Grow up, really don't like Jar Jar. So I end in the middle. But when I read that, I was like, okay, I feel bad for Jar Jar, because this is, whether I hate or love him, this is somebody I've grown up with, and the fact that the Empire forces him to be a fool is insane. It's insane. But anyway, if one of the things about that shot in the trailer, I said this in the reaction briefly, but it's the first time I've really seen in Star Wars like a boat, right?
Yeah,
like we haven't really seen it. We saw Rey on the skiff in Rise of Skywalker. She went over 2 waves, and then she climbed incredibly fast to the top of the way too completed Death Star.
After using the knife that seems to be ancient, that it's lined up against a fresh Death Star.
I can forgive that the Death Star is way too intact. I can't forgive the knife. The knife, I don't get the knife. Anyway, the knife that just pulls out a compass. That's a toy. That was Kathleen Kennedy pulling a George Lucas from back in the the prequel era, saying we need a toy. Yeah. But anyway, we've never seen and that shot alone is what really made me go, this is a buddy story. It's these two trying to get somewhere. It's what's the Stephen King? Stand By Me. Stand By Me. It's something like that. It's our journey from one end to the other, and And just seeing them on that boat, you know, it's the best parts of Game of Thrones is the traveling,
Yes.
who you meet, and that is what I love. It's that shot where it's like it's a small Star Wars boat, which isn't much apparently.
A boat in Star Wars. This is like
We've never seen it. It makes no sense.
we've never really, yeah.
And you know it's going to be a ship, right? It's going to be a ship that opens up, that lands in the water, and then floats.
Yeah.
Or it's somebody ancient. If maybe Ahsoka has found, you know, we know George Lucas has had his hands a little bit on The Mandalorian season 2.
Yes.
And you know, Rian Johnson tried to touch on it a little bit in Last Jedi. He's always wanted to bring in the Wills and the more mythological part of the Force,
yes,
outside of midichlorians. Maybe Ahsoka is with some ancient, you know, the Wills. And we've seen the Wills kind of take form in Clone Wars and Rebels. I mean, the Space Wells are part of that. Maybe she's in a place you can't get to by ship for some reason. Maybe you can't have to take an actual boat. Maybe that's a planet that is not technologically advanced. You know, maybe it's a planet that doesn't know. I mean, they know about the galaxy, but like isn't part of it. You know what I mean? Like really outer rim stuff.
A really mysterious planet where maybe like even with the crazy thick fog that we saw in there, maybe you're not actually able to bring a ship down planet side because your navigation's going to be thrown completely off and you're going to be wind up in the water, just like at Dagobah.
You've got to pay the locals to take you where you need to go. Like that. That is cool. And that shot of him, I mean, it's Game of Thrones. It's Arya looking off the ship, heading to choose in one direction and the other. It's such a cool shot because it's him just on a boat. I just love it. I love it.
Do you think I know you specifically brought up that your idea is that at the end, your prediction for the end of season 2 is that Mando is going to hand off Baby Yoda to Ahsoka.
I think that is how the show is going to end. And then the Mandalorian will continue, I think, with just him.
Got it. That was going to be one of my other questions was, do we think that, is it going to be Buddy Cop Stand By Me for the entirety of the Mandalorian show? Or do we think that it's going to run its course to, I don't know, maybe it gets dumped off at like season 3? And then Mandalorian has his own like little adventures. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to end with her taking Baby Yoda's, but you couldn't do 4 seasons of that, of trying to find where he should go. I don't know if I love the idea of Ahsoka then joining the team and trying to help find more Yodas. I'm not into that. I think it makes total sense for her to say, let me train this creature who will then train and really bring back the Jedi.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's just, I don't think that you cannot have just the Mandalorian going off and doing his own things. I think that having Baby Yoda there is a nice opposite to
I think
Mando.
You've just gotten too attached. I think we've all gotten too attached to Baby Yoda, and we don't want to lose him. I think that's what it really is here. I get what you're saying. And he may stay. Maybe Mando dies. What if this is the end of the Mandalorian? What if it's a 2 season? They never announced this is a mini series. That can be 12 seasons. That can be 1. Mini series can be anything, and that's what they announced this as. This could be the end. It could be 2 seasons and that's it. 2 seasons and a movie, maybe.
Please, no, I need more Mandalorian in my life.
Me too.
Okay. As long, if they ended it at season 2, they made it short and sweet and really savory, I'd be okay with that. The biggest example that we've seen shown with the Mandalorian is that we can have other stories being told in the Star Wars universe that aren't about Jedi, and have it be really interesting.
Yeah.
And how important that is. Like I know I've had a number of talks with other friends that say, like, I don't want to see Lord of the Rings explored. I don't want to see the greater universe explored. I don't want to see Harry Potter expanded upon, which completely understandable. You want to keep the magic of that, but some of these universes I've always felt as though are just dying to be explored. Just dying to be explored
Star
and
Wars
have other
probably
interesting
more
stories.
than any of them.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Western fan, and so I know the minute that I ended up hearing, like, reading the interviews of Pedro Pascal as he studied a lot of the classic spaghetti westerns, watched all the Clint Eastwood films,
and
to
even going
really
further to the samurai
yes,
movies that George based this off of, that westerns are based off of.
I was just ecstatic hearing that, and
yeah.
The Star Wars universe is so vast, so interesting, and there's so many different types of stories that can be told, and The Mandalorian is the first and best example of that.
Yeah. And I am excited for Kanan's show. Kanan and K2SO. I actually do like that show idea of as a prequel, because he's got a really interesting backstory, and we'll get more of that. We'll get more of a guy who's a separatist who then falls and then wants the Empire and then ends up going to the rebellion. That's all cool to me. I'm with you. The people who say that, all you have to do is hit them with this, because I always do it. If it's done well, you're lying. It's always if it's just done bad.
Yeah.
If you get The Hobbit, you're going to hate it. If The Hobbit was awesome, you'd be like, this was great. I'm so glad I got all this. And that's one of the problems Star Wars faces. You know, I love Episode 7. I love Episode 8. I do not like Episode 9. I like Solo, and I really like Rogue One. So I am pretty happy with what I've gotten, because for me, they've hit pretty well. They've had a couple misses, and Rise of Skywalker is a big miss for me. But it always is, did they do it well? And The Mandalorian, people like to complain about Star Wars more than anything else. They'll find any little nitpick ever. Like I know people whose biggest problem is just the fact that we saw Jawa, or we had some of the old creatures being cooked, and it's like they said this show is us getting our toys out and playing in the sandbox. This is exactly what it is, and that's what I want. And you know, I don't want a Yoda movie. If they make a Yoda movie and it's amazing, I'm gonna love that Yoda movie. Like I'm gonna
absolutely. They could release a 2-part movie series on the Gonk droid, and as long as it's good, I'm going to watch it.
Exactly. We can get my 10 episodes I want of why the cantina now has a droid bartender, and if it's done great, it could be the next Breaking Bad. Like you're assuming it's bad, and that's.
Are we going to get more Bill Burr in The Mandalorian?
I'd be all right with more Bill Burr, man. I liked Bill. I thought he was great.
That was fun. I did actually like his in there. I guess. Okay, so I got 2 questions then.
All right,
left.
Last 2 quickly, because we have been going for a while.
Oh boy. So last one that I had is: do we think Cara Dune and Greef Karga, or Gina Carano's and Carl Weathers' characters, do they come together as a crew with Mandalorian?
Well, from that shot, it looked like Mando was coming back to them. And I think from the expressions, I think the 2 of them stay together. And I think Mando goes off. And then at some point, he needs to come back. I don't think they'll be together a lot. If it is, it might be the same thing at the end. It's like, I got to get the team together. This is the only team I trust to be around Baby Yoda, because they know what he can do and they care about him. It's probably just something like that. I don't think they're going to be main focal points, and I kind of hope they're not. I love the characters. If they are, I'd be fine. But if they're, I kind of like just watching Mando and Baby Yoda interact, just the 2 of them. Yeah, it's that we're too attached, you know. We're too attached to him, and I like that. It's a boy and his dog kind of story at the same time. Like that's what it is.
Baby Yoda knows it's going down.
Yeah, and the fact that their relationship has changed so much, where you get a shot where when the what do they call them? The flying
songbirds.
Bird, the songbirds, when they pop up, And Baby Yoda is like, oh.
I'm out.
That is such a great shot to put in this trailer because it shows that
Yes.
time has passed. Some time has passed. They've really started to bond. Baby Yoda's getting older. He's starting to learn and figure things out. I mean, the guy is 50. How much older? That's another thing. If they do explain the aging, I'm okay with that because I'm too curious. Because our boy dies at 900, and he's 50 and an infant.
That's true.
Like what? I want to know this range. Like I want to know when is peak Yoda. That's what I want to know. Is it 200 years old?
Is it 500? Because I mean, is peak Yoda would probably be around 200, 300 years. Man, they age slow, man.
Yeah. Or, it's Star Wars. Maybe their species in the first 200 years ages incredibly slowly. And then like at 200, all of a sudden gets really, ages very quickly. Their puberty hits and it changes quickly. Because Yoda is not alone long from when he's flipping around, cutting heads off to being decrepit. So,
20 years?
Yeah, it's 20, 30 years, something like that. So maybe the last 30 years of his life, he accelerates quicker, or maybe it's the way the Force is used with him. We don't know.
Let's keep the mystery about the species and about Yoda. It's something that I've loved about Star Wars is having the mystery around things or around certain aspects of it. I think are really fun. To not have everything explained. But anyways, okay, so last question. You specifically brought up Game of Thrones, and this is a perfect kind of talking point about that. With Game of Thrones being a week-by-week show, and now it seems as though the TV viewing culture has really kind of swapped a bit more into this binge culture on Netflix or wherever. Do you think that the show The Mandalorian is helped or hindered by being a week-to-week release?
I personally believe, I thought this before the first season came out, I believe for these type of shows, I will say this too real quick because of the comparison. Too many people hated Game of Thrones ending so much, I mean, us included, hated it so much that then when The Mandalorian came out, all the hype was, this is my new Game of Thrones. And then those middle episodes were meh, and everyone was like, this isn't what I wanted. And it was more like, the rebound girlfriend. It's like, you're not really upset at the new girl. You're upset at the old girl still. And I think it was unfair. Too many people did that because there's not great episodes in the first season of Game of Thrones. There's some great ones. There's a couple of storylines that aren't great, and I think people forget about that because they wanted the ending to be so good. Anyway, but then to this point, I think the water cooler talk is always better. And I think the consumer hates it. I think the consumer hates it, and that's why it is better. Because I'll say this to other friends who go, no, I would much rather have it binged. It's like, yeah, but you're still going to tune in every week, right? Yeah. You're going to talk about it with your buddies all week, right? Yeah. You're going to look forward to it all week, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who's talking about The Witcher still?
Exactly.
And The Witcher's great. Nobody's talking about it.
Awesome series. You binge it. But all that ever occurs is you binge it over a weekend. Then you show up to your friends and it's like, oh my God, The Witcher was amazing. Let's talk about this moment, this moment, this moment. That's all that's ever talked about. It's never that elongated conversation that occurs because of oh my gosh, did you watch last night's episode? Yeah, I did. I watched it 3 times.
Yeah, and it eventually we stopped talking about Mandalorian. But for 3 months, we were only talking, for 2 months, because there was only 6 episodes, we were talking about The Mandalorian. All throughout Christmas and November, it was all about The Mandalorian, and it allows this kind of build up. And then when this trailer pops in, you're like, holy cow, I'm seeing the first episode of The Mandalorian in 2 weeks. And then with Netflix, and their format clearly works, but then all of a sudden one day you just get on Netflix and there's Stranger Things season 3. and you're like, holy cow, okay, I guess I'm watching this now. You know, that's literally the feeling I have with Netflix when a new show pops up. Or a new season. It's okay, I guess this is now what I'm going to be watching.
Right.
Where this buildup, I really like it. And you get that week to theorize. That's the best thing about Star Wars.
Yes.
And some of my favorite parts is what we're doing. It's getting sweaty, you know, standing in before tickets went online in Bozeman. I got in line for episode 7 or 8 at 6 in the morning, 7 at like 9:30 in the morning.
Yes.
And it was people I only saw once a year for 3 years at those events in those lines that we got there early, and we recognized each other and we just geeked out, nerd out, theoried out. And that's what I like, because I like that the Mandalorian, you know, the whole debate when the boots were saw was, is that Boba Fett? Wait, what if it's this guy? What if it's that guy? We didn't have our answer right away. And as much as the consumer hates having to wait for dessert, they still wait for dessert.
Yes, exactly. Savor it, man. How much more has Mandalorian made an impact in your head compared to those series that you've binged? Don't get me wrong, those series that you binge are amazing. Some of like Stranger Things is an example. I remember binging that over one weekend and thought, oh my gosh, this is pure nostalgia straight into the veins right now, and I'm absolutely loving this. But something like The Mandalorian, something like the good seasons of Game of Thrones, those stick with you so much more.
They really do, and the big moments do.
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, I'm so excited for this new season. When's it drop again? October?
I think it's October 2nd.
October 2nd?
Yeah,
ooh, that's
2
like
weeks.
That's
2.5
like 2
weeks.
weeks away.
Yeah, we're almost done. We're halfway through September.
Oh,
I can't wait. Hey, and you know, there is a different format too. You know, Netflix binge all at once. You know, that first season of Stranger Things really hit me, and it was like a roller coaster. It was fast. It was fun, but I'd rather have fun over a couple months.
Yes.
And really enjoying it. And if you get an episode you don't like, you know, the best part about it is I rewatched those episodes I didn't love right away 3 times all week to gear up, and then I ended up really liking them. And then at the end, you can just sit and then re-binge it, and you see things you didn't catch. Those are the best parts. All right, well, go ahead. Finish it off.
Sorry.
Do it. Let's get sweaty.
It's the one last thing that I'd say about that is just I know people got critical about it, but I do find that I specifically think with Mandalorian season 1, if you could just power through it in one go right now and just get past those middle episodes, for some people, personally, love them. But if you can barrel through those in one go, it's how much more impactful they can be at times, and how much more momentum you can carry through this season. Which I know is weird. That's an argument towards binging the series, but I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to each one.
I will say this, and this is the official final thought.
Okay.
Again, our bubble, we love film, we love television, we love storytelling, so we critique it with a different eye than the common folk. I mean, I've dated girls who don't look at movies the same way, and then that, you know, the conversations are so drastically different. You know, I have friends that don't look at movies the same way.
Yeah.
I do believe the common folk who watch this, they loved every episode. And I know it because I've never told you this story. I think I've said it once on the show, but it was probably late in an episode like this. So if anybody's still listening this deep in, here for the first time, I worked for Uber for a while. I mean, I still technically do. Worked for Uber Eats, and I was stuck at an IHOP on a crazy morning. And it was right after the Bill Burr episode had aired on that Friday. So it was like the Saturday or Sunday. It was Sunday morning before. IHOP was packed. I waited there way too long. And there was a bunch of like frat boys who were waiting next to me. And one of them went, "Oh, wait, dude, did you watch The Mandalorian last night?" And they were like, "Dude, that episode was so great." And they all started talking about it. And the stuff they were saying was not critiquing it the same way. They weren't diving into the score and the cinematography, and they weren't doing that. But they loved it. They were talking nonstop about it. I heard then later other people bring it up in my class. which this gave me that it's hitting everybody because I went from like frat guys to future teachers. You know, all these girls and guys who are going to be future teachers were like, oh, the Mandalorian is so good. Like
Yeah.
I got Disney Plus just for it, all this stuff. So I think it does translate a little differently too with those middle episodes.
I can agree with that.
But for fans, for sure, those middle episodes can be a bit wonky, but they're worth it. I mean, the ending is fantastic. So that
Yes.
last episode is so great. I mean, episode 3 and the last one are my favorites.
Oh yeah, it's I think what was it 5 and 6 are incredible.
Yeah.
Because episode 5 is they show up back to Navarro. Quill dies at the end of that one, and then all of a sudden we start into Mandalorian as he's surrounded by a bunch of Imperial troopers. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, 3 where he goes John Wick, and he gets Baby Yoda's back. That I like.
Yes, that one's also.
That one's great.
I also, man, the ATST treating it like the T-Rex that's coming out of the forest. Yeah. I also like that, even though everybody criticized it to hell that there was nobody piloting it.
Yeah.
But
I like that episode. That's the episode that's hated on the most. I like that episode. I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard first directing, but it's fun. It's Magnificent Seven. That's what it is. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I dug it. But all right, we do got to end it here.
Okay.
So Movie Meals, if you're still watching, thank you, Tanner. You are definitely coming back on. I've already got ideas in my head that I'm going to be messaging you about soon once I talk to my co-host Kyle about everything. Make sure it lines up with what he likes. But I got ideas. So Movie Meals, if you are still watching, thank you, Tanner. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
Please come back. As always, thank you for watching my mother, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye-bye.